You are a person. You are an influential part of someone's life story, whether you realize it or not. One thing that you are not is a failure. So what if you feel like a failure? What should you do with this feeling? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Leslie. I am a life coach based here in Brisbane, Australia, and I'm also a bit of a linguistics nerd, especially when it relates to how words impact personal growth and self-belief. And that's one reason I get a little bit riled up when I hear people say things like, "I'm a failure." Let's start by looking at this expression a little more closely, starting with the phrase, a failure. It's a noun phrase composed of an indefinite article, a, and the noun failure. And that indefinite article is actually kind of important here because it helps to illustrate the fact that a failure is pretty generic until you put it into your own context. So the first thing you should ask yourself is what failure means to you. Does it mean that you lack success? And if that's the case, how do you define success? Or in your context, it could mean that you tried to accomplish a specific task and it didn't go quite as planned. One underlying problem here is that once you self-identify as a failure, there's really nowhere else to go after that because you've essentially given yourself permission to give up. Furthermore, a fear of failure can really hold you back from trying things that you might be interested in. But if you really examine your relationship with this word failure, you might eventually start to think of it as a source of inspiration rather than a way to insult yourself for no good reason. So then what is the difference between saying that you're a failure and saying that you've failed to do something? Well, for one thing, now you have a verb phrase, and verbs mean action. And you also have something more useful, something that you can build off of. For example, I've failed to obtain a job that I am passionate about, or I've failed to complete an assignment by the due date. There's room for action here, and it's also not generic. So then what? You've proudly declared that you are not a failure, but that you have failed to do something. Well, now you get to do something else. You get to take what you've learned through failing to complete said task and use that information to formulate an action plan. And that plan could be with the aim of attempting the same achievement, but in a slightly different way, or it could be to do something else entirely, which, depending on your situation, may also be fine. You may be the kind of person who gets really excited about trying a bunch of different new things and seeing what maintains your interest. And that is okay. Now, the word failure has been kind of reinvented and reused by people working in coaching, personal development, business, in a lot of different industries to describe the point at which something went wrong or didn't go quite as planned, and then became a source of inspiration that ignited change that led to some great success. And that's a great way of looking at failure or failing at something, as a source of inspiration rather than a destination or an identity. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework this time. Every time you think or say, "I'm a failure," I want you to stop and I want you to write down 5 things that you actually are. You know, I am someone's offspring. I am Peruvian, whatever it might be. And when you have moments of distress, feeling that you have failed at something, I want you to write down a few more sentences. I want you to start by writing down specifically what you have failed at accomplishing, a full sentence, and then I want you to write one full sentence explaining the best lesson that you have learned from this failing incident, and then one more full sentence explaining what you are going to do next. Even just going through this process of making a list, writing your thoughts out as sentences can help you kind of return to a state of calm, to a more useful state where you can actually take useful action towards doing something rather than just sitting around and feeling sorry for yourself or using it as an excuse to go, I don't know, engage in some sort of self-destructive activity. Now, this has been a very brief, very general look at this issue because not everyone has the same needs or the same concerns when it comes to anything relating to personal development. So, if you want to discuss any of this further in a way that relates specifically to your situation, go to my website, leslievcoaching.com, and book a free consultation with me. That can be in person or online. Or if you just want to communicate casually about any of this stuff, hit me up on social media, and I'll put all of the relevant links to my social media channels in the description. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and make sure that you share my videos with all of your favorite people or anyone who you think might find them useful. And again, if you have anything that you want me to look at in more detail relating to personal development and language in particular and how it relates to personal development, get in touch. All right, I am going to pick some things up from the house, go meet the hubby and the daughter, and go see my friend for her birthday dinner. And I will see you next time.